Teacher Lisa here from Learning with Lisa. I come to you today with a video on tips and tricks to use in your classroom. What to expect from each slide and what VIPKID is looking for you to teach each slide. So what I'd like you to do, if you can, is go ahead and subscribe to my channel below so that you can see all the videos that I have to come. If this topic has resonated with you today, please leave a comment, ask a question, and I would love to hear from you. Also, you can email me at learningwithlisa20@gmail.com. So what is VIPKID looking for? That is the big question that so many teachers coming into this job ask. What are they looking for? What do they want us to do with our students? And it's much different from teaching in a brick and mortar classroom to teaching online. I know that I experienced that, and I know that a lot of you are experiencing that. So with this video today, these tips and tricks are going to help give you an idea of exactly what you need to do on each slide in your mock lesson, your demo lessons, as well as when you get into your own classroom and teach your first class. So there are 3 expectations that I like to share, kind of the overall slide expectations of what you need to do through your lesson. So the first one is always using correct grammar. So make sure that you are using correct grammar and you're reviewing the slides. Also, make sure that your students are using correct grammar, and do not hesitate to correct them. If they are not using the grammar correctly, parents want you to make sure that you correct them. The second thing is to make sure that the student is speaking in complete sentences. I have mentioned that throughout my videos, and that is one of the most important things, is that we are getting our students to speak in full sentences, okay? So making sure that you're always encouraging that in how you teach. The third thing is speaking independently. So are you always the one talking, or are you prompting them, guiding them to come up with their own answer and for them to speak independently? So those 3 expectations are huge, and if you can always remember that going into a lesson, you definitely have a big jump start when you begin teaching all of your new classes. So now that I have shared with you 3 just kind of overall ideas, expectations, I'm going to go into 8 expectations that VIPKID is looking for, kind of 8 tips or tricks that you can implement as you become your own classroom teacher. So the first thing is TPR. I'm sure you've heard of that. It was kind of new to me coming into the online ESL setting, but TPR is really big when you are teaching online, especially because we are not right in front of the student. So TPR, there's 2 kinds. There's instructional TPR, and then there's educational TPR. So instructional TPR is where you are going to show the student, pointing to the mouth. So if I want the student to repeat a word, I would say ball, and then I would point to the student and cup my ear and get them to repeat ball. Yes, good job. So I'm showing them exactly what I want them to do. Also, another thing that you could do is draw on the screen. Circle. Yes, good job. Or draw a line. Yes, so again, this is instructional TPR. I'm showing them exactly what I want them to do. The second kind of TPR is going to be the educational TPR, and this is going to be acting it out. And we do a lot of this as well. So if I'm teaching the vocabulary word, run. Run! Yes, good job. So I'm acting it out. I'm not just saying run, which is instructional TPR. I'm also adding in the educational TPR, which is run, and I'm acting it out. I'm also, I could, instead of an action, I could be using a facial expression. So if I'm teaching them sad, sad, again, educational TPR. So acting that out, showing those facial expressions, those motions, changing your tone of voice. Those are all great examples of TPR and getting the kids to understand the concept. So make sure that you are using both forms of TPR, and you will see that over time it will become like second nature. You'll just be doing it. In fact, if you have students, you will be doing it with your brick and mortar students or with your kids at home. I mean, I've had times where I've done it with my kids and my husband. Not good, but it just goes to show that it's second nature, and you will become very fluent with it very quickly. It seems like weird right now, but eventually you will get it and it will be awesome in your lessons. So the second tip that I'm going to share with you is repetition. So I kind of already went into this one with the TPR, but getting the student to repeat after you, especially if it's a new vocabulary word that you're teaching. Introduce. So if you're introducing a new word, then you're definitely going to want to get the student to repeat. And as I shared in my demo lesson, you're going to want them to repeat the vocabulary word twice. So for example, if I'm going to use the word ball, I'm going to say ball, ball. Good job! So I'm getting them to repeat that vocabulary word twice. I'm also getting them to independently say it back. And then before you know it, by the end of the lesson, they are automatically repeating it without you having to prompt them with your TPR. Make sure also, along with repeating the words, that you're speaking slowly. So if I'm going ball, ball, that's way too fast. So make sure you're really taking your time, but you're also moving at a pace to where you can keep up with finishing the lesson by 25 minutes or 28 minutes. And then the last thing is no incidental language. So this is something that can be difficult for some people, especially if you're used to talking in your classroom or speaking at a higher level. You want to make sure that you're sticking to what vocabulary word is on the slide. So if I'm saying, okay, now we're going to do this, ball, all of those words are not necessary. Just say ball, and they know what to do. If you're going to say, you are going to say this, or you are going to circle, that is considered incidental language, and it's not needed, because a lot of times they're like, what? I don't even understand what this teacher is asking me to do. One helpful thing is to record yourself. So maybe for when you're practicing for your mock lesson, your demo, or even when you start your first few classes, record yourself and see if you're using incidental language or if you're sticking what is on the slide or the teaching tips. The third tip that I am sharing with you is correction. Again, I kind of referenced that with TPR and repetition, but make sure that you are always taking the time to correct the student, that you're always really listening to their pronunciation and when they're reading a full sentence. Circle those words. If they miss them, that's okay. Also, there have been times, in my cases, many times actually, where sometimes the student just cannot repeat it correctly. So just do it twice and then move on. And then it'll come back in slides, future slides, and you can practice it again. And you can also, if they're not able to do it in the lesson, just make sure to put that in the feedback so that the parent can work on that particular word or those group of words with their student. The fourth tip that I share with you is synthetic phonics. And what that is teaching them the correct phonic sound. Unfortunately, this is a common problem with a lot of the students, is they learn it incorrectly when they're learning English in their classrooms. So making sure that you are always taking that time to correct them. So, for example, if I'm using my phonogram card and I have the letter D, so this phonogram sound is going to be D. D. It's not duh. Duh. Okay, it's D. So making sure that you don't have the sound after you say the initial sound. It's not k, it's k. So you hear the difference. Make sure that you are really listening to their sounds when they're speaking and correcting them right away. As I mentioned before in this video, parents want you to correct them. This is why they are teaching one-on-one with you, is because they don't get this in the classroom setting. They don't get that one-on-one. So make sure that you're always listening to their pronunciation and their initial sounds when they're blending. The fifth tip or trick is pacing. So unfortunately, this seems to be a difficult challenge for a lot of teachers, and it's definitely something that you get better at over time. As you teach more classes, you're able to kind of pace yourself and keep the student moving, but also making sure that you're meeting that objective for that lesson. So you have 25 to 28 minutes, so you have that window of time frame to complete the lesson. You definitely cannot leave early. If you leave early, you will be basically docked for that, and it'll show a no-show for you as a classroom teacher. So make sure that no earlier than 25 minutes. It could be 25:01, that is fine, but it has to be 25 minutes. When you are teaching your live class, it's only going to be 5 minutes. So the 25-minute mark is for when you begin teaching your major courses, your major classes. But for your live interview, it's only going to be 5 minutes. Your recorded lesson is only going to be 5 minutes. And then your smart demo is going to be 2.5 minutes. So it's going to be much different than the 25 minutes that you're going to be teaching when you become an ESL teacher and have your own students. For the mock lesson, for the certification mock lesson, you will have 10 minutes. So pacing is very, very important when you are teaching these lessons. Obviously, if you are that teacher that you're able to get through all the slides and the student is just doing phenomenal and they're responding and speaking independently, you're going to have some extra time. So sometimes that's hard too, is how do I fill that time up? So definitely there are lots of ways that you can extend. The sixth tip is modeling. So obviously this is a really, really big expectation from VIPKID when it comes to teaching online. With VIPKID, they have set up the lessons, which many of you, if you're teachers, brick and mortar teachers, you know that I do, we do, you do. So it's set up that way. So you're going to introduce the slide or the vocabulary word, which is I do. We do is practice. So we're going to practice together with prompting and some guidance and support. And then the third thing is you do. So that is going to be that the student is going to apply the skills they've learned and they're going to do it on their own. Obviously, if you need to provide that support as well, you will continue to do so, but you're definitely encouraging that student to do it on their own. So when you're modeling new vocabulary words, you're modeling sentences, sentence frames, you're asking questions and getting the student to answer in their own sentence. And keep in mind that with the younger students that don't have a strong understanding of the language, that sometimes when you ask a question like, "What is your name?" they'll repeat, "What is your name?" So you have to actually model that. So I have this lovely puppet. A lot of teachers have the actual characters like Meg and Mike, and they have puppets, but I have just my little farm puppets. So I would act this out talking to the puppet so that they can see what I want them to do. "What is your name?" "My name is Pig." And then I would say, "What is your name?" And they would say, "My name is Sam." Good job! So showing them that I'm speaking to the puppet and the puppet is responding their name. So a lot of times that will help. Oftentimes too with the younger kids, the parents will be right there. So the parents will assist with them saying my name is and answering that in a full sentence. So just keep in mind that if these students are repeating after you everything that you say, and you're not getting that sentence responded by them, use the puppet. This comes in handy almost all the time. So definitely find a puppet. It doesn't have to be a VIPKID character, but definitely needs to be something to show and to model that for the. When you're teaching, make sure to always draw, underline, model on the screen. Show them exactly what they need to do. You can obviously model that using props or your whiteboard, but you also want to be doing that on the screen so the students know exactly what to do. A lot of students have the touch screen, so generally I'm going to use my finger to circle. But if I know that the student has a mouse, I'm also going to model circle. And then they'll be able to do that as well. So I'm going to walk through the 3 parts of a lesson. So you have introduce, which is I do. You have the practice, which is we do. You have the apply, which is you do. So those letters, the I, the P, and the A, are going to be in the upper right-hand corner of your slide in orange. So if you're kind of stuck and not sure what the student needs to be able to do, just check that out and you'll remember, okay, I'm introducing a new concept, or we are going to practice together and I'm going to give that support, or the student needs to do it on their own. So make sure that you have that understanding. Also, there are tips and tricks up at the top of the screen that will help guide you. So now I'm going to model the first part of a lesson, which is introduce. So that means I do. That I'm going to do it and the student is going to repeat after me. So you can introduce a new vocabulary word or a new sentence. So I'm going to start with vocabulary word first. Ball. Ball. Good job. So I'm going to do that twice. Now I'm going to introduce a sentence and I'm going to do it once. He plays with a ball. If the student can't do the full sentence, then break it up. She plays with a ball. Yes! Great sentence! Okay, so the sentence is going to be once. The vocabulary word is going to be twice. Then I'm going to ask the question. What does she play with? She plays with a ball. Good job. Very good. So if the student, for some reason, doesn't say the sentence correctly, make sure that you correct them. So if they say she play a ball, make sure she plays with a ball. And you are correcting them right in that moment so that they can make that connection that that was not a correct answer. This is. The next part of the lesson is the practice, which is the P. So you'll see that in the right corner of the slide. And that is the we do. So we're going to do that together with the student and we're going to provide that support as needed. So we're going to start with the question. What does she play with? She plays with a ball. Yes, good job. So if they need that support, that assistance in answering that question, then you're definitely going to do that. You want them to be able to independently say that full sentence on their own. Then you're going to provide that extension. What does he play with? And a lot of students know that this is a basketball, so they should be able to answer. He plays with a basketball. Good job. Very good. So that's an extension. So it's not just a ball, it's a basketball. You could even ask the question again, what does she play with? And see if they can say a soccer ball. Also, you could teach a whole new word that they don't know. Most students don't know that this is a baseball. So you could say, baseball, baseball. Good job. What is this? This is a baseball. Good job! Or you could say, what does he play with? He plays with a baseball. Good job! Okay, so you see that I'm focusing on that first sentence. I'm asking that question, and then I'm kind of extending beyond what the question is, and I'm throwing in other balls to see if they're able to answer. And most of the time, these students know what a basketball is, what a soccer ball is, and if you're able to introduce a new vocabulary word, that's awesome too. Just getting them to have that output, to always answer in full sentence. The third part of the lesson is apply. So the student is going to apply what they've learned, what you have introduced to them, and practice with them. They're going to apply those skills and do it on their own. That's the whole point of teaching ESL with these students, is we want them to get to answer independently. So we're not always prompting them. We need to provide that space for them to be able to answer in complete sentences and answer independently. So when you're doing the you do question, you're always going to start with a question. So you're going to say, what does she play with? She plays with a soccer ball. Or she plays with a ball. Okay, you're asking a question and then you're getting them to answer on their own. So after you've had the introduce, the practice, and the apply slides, you will have extend. So that will be the opportunity to kind of review everything that you and the student have done together, and it kind of like just pulls it all in. And this is the opportunity where you will use a new way with something that they already know. So maybe a new pronoun or introducing a new vocabulary word. So maybe you could do, what do they play? They play basketball. Good. So now I'm not only doing he or she, I'm also using they. You could bring in another prop, like a kite, and you could say, what does he play? He plays with a kite. Yes. So again, I'm extending, and if you can always try to focus on providing those extension questions, your kids are going to make connections and they're going to grasp this language a lot quicker than if we're always just sticking to the slide and not pushing that higher level thinking. With the recorded lesson, you are going to have the parts of a lesson, which include introduce, practice, and apply. So you're going to have all three parts when you're doing the recorded version of the lesson. If you're doing the live lesson, you're going to have introduce, practice, apply, and then you're also going to have phonics concept. So you're going to introduce a new phonics concept. So that will be for the live lesson. Then for your demo lesson, you're just doing introduce slides only. And I have a demo lesson and I've modeled that for you. So please check out that video at another time if you have questions on that. The seventh tip for what VIPKID is looking for is making sure that you're always providing those extensions. And I've talked a ton about extensions because I truly believe that it is so important to always have those extending questions whenever possible. So when you are extending, you're extending with a new vocabulary word, and it's a new vocabulary word that is not on the slide. Or you're asking questions, maybe that is the same sentence frame but with a different vocabulary word. So try to make sure you either review the slides and see what extending questions they have in the tips and tricks, or try to come up with some of your own extension questions and jot them down on your note card or a notebook paper to have those in front of you so that you can make sure you're always asking those questions. For the mock class, the student, you will have what the student already knows. So make sure that you review what the student already knows so that you can apply those into your extension questions as well. So an extension would be using various pronouns when you're answering a question, or using a new prop like I showed you, a baseball. So those are extending types of questions. And also, you want to extend at least 5 times throughout a lesson. So I know it's kind of hard to do everything at once. Keep track of the time. Make sure you're pacing. Make sure you're, asking the right questions. But try to just extend as much as possible, and then you'll always know that you've had at least 5 or more opportunities for those extending questions. The 8th and final, I promise, the final tip that VIPKID is looking for is a reward system. So this here is actually an easy way to extend, because you can use your reward system to ask questions. So I personally am somebody that likes to use Google Slides, but if you are somebody that likes to make your own props, or, for example, when I first started teaching, I was not familiar with Google Slides, so I would have my own props. And a lot of these props you can get, or these rewards you can get in the Dollar Tree section, or you can also get in the dollar section at Target. So this particular reward here I have is it's just a grassy area, and these are dinosaurs, and these are magnets. So I could have this completely empty, and then I could say, when you do a good job, you get a dinosaur, and then I could add that right to the grass. And then you could also, when you're all finished, you could ask, how many dinosaurs do you see? And that's an extension question, and then they can count, and you can help them count out loud. Anything that you think would be a great reward system, definitely use it. It doesn't have to be anything specific. VIPKID is open to a lot of different reward styles, and whatever the teacher is looking for, it's up to you. So just make sure that it's something that is appropriate for the child, age appropriate, as well as gender appropriate. So for the SMART demo, or the recorded version of the lesson, you don't have to use a reward system. But for the live lesson, interview lesson, and the mock, you definitely need a reward system. So you're going to need at least 4 times you will give them a reward. So if I'm going to use this, I'm going to use at least 4 dinosaurs throughout my lesson. Another example that I have here is mermaids. So this would be kind of like a girl version, is putting a mermaid up every time if they do a good job. So to kind of have an idea, when you're teaching the mock lesson, it's every other slide that you would give them a reward. So that way you're making sure that you've provided enough reward for them throughout the lesson. And it's also just an opportunity to kind of keep them positive and keep your lesson lighthearted. So just make sure that you're always saying, good job, you get, and then showing them what it is. And having it visible as well throughout your lesson is key too. So I have shared with you 8 tips that VIPKID is looking for. I know that it might seem a lot, and you're just like, oh my goodness, this is so overwhelming, especially I'm trying to pass my demo lesson, I'm trying to pass my mock lesson, and then now I have to do all of this and more in my classroom setting. Just keep in mind that it's going to come naturally over time. The more that you practice and the more that you teach, you'll be doing it without even thinking twice about it. So just try to just focus on what you need to do right now to prepare for your demo and for your mock lesson, and then keep practicing over time, and it will become second nature. I promise you that. So I would love to help you get prepared for all this. Make sure that you understand what VIPKID is looking for in each of the phases of the interview process. If you have not begun the journey in becoming an ESL teacher, I would love to help you. I would be honored to guide you and support you. So please go ahead and use my referral link at the bottom in the description box, and we will get you started. And so make sure that you also email me, because I can't always see who actually uses my referral link. So make sure that you email me at learningwithlisa20@gmail.com. And I look forward to working with you, and I hope to hear from you soon. And as always, go learn something new. Thanks so much, and have a great day. Bye!